what I wanted to focus on is a very practical and very close to home area of concern for the family that I don't think has gotten enough attention or any attention at all. I'm going to present to you a scenario in which, actually present to you a reality in terms of which all of us that are sitting in this convention here, chances are that the vast majority of your family, your cousins, your brothers, etc., they're not very religious, and you're the weirdos from your society, your family that came here to the convention. And chances are a good number of people in your family don't see eye to eye with you, even if they are Muslim, when it comes to the religion. You are considered an extreme faction within your family. You are the object of ridicule during Eid. You are the people, the way you dress, the way you conduct your social gatherings, the way you show up at weddings, covered up and etc., you become the object of mocking and ridicule. And I want to bring some of this to attention. This happens to those of you that are raised in Muslim families, because even the vast majority of Muslims today, the vast majority of them are very far from the practice of the religion. And of course, this also happens to those of you that made the decision to enter into the fold of Islam, and obviously that decision has led to a lot of rift and conflict between yourself and your family, and they don't look at you the same way they used to anymore. There's this distance between you and your family, and the cause of it happens to be Islam itself. Now, maybe you were such a person. Maybe you were a person that wasn't very religious at all, and you were living life like the rest of your extended family, but something came in your heart and you said, you know what, I'm going to take this guidance seriously. I don't know how it happened. Maybe Allah made it happen through some YouTube video, or it happened through some khutbah you heard, or a friend, or however it happened, but you decided to make a change for the better in your life. And when you start changing the behavior in your life, the first people to see a change in you will be your own family. They will notice it. They will notice that you're not the same anymore. You don't talk the same, you don't act the same, you don't go to the same places, you don't even have the same friends anymore. And this necessarily happens. When you take a turn towards Islam, necessarily you start losing friends. Because your old friends used to do pretty bad things, and now you can't do those things with them anymore, so you suffer a loss of friends. And at the same time, your family starts saying, you're acting a little too weird. And for the young man, the family might even say, what's that thing on your face? You forgot to shave? What happened to you? And the girl starts wearing hijab, and the family might even be in shock. And this is a Muslim family, mind you. They'll say, take that thing off your head. You're going to go out to the wedding looking like that? I can't sit in the car with you like that. What do you think we are? Who do you, all of a sudden, you're the Islamic role model? Who died and made you sheikh? That all of a sudden we should be looking up to you. Remember what you were like last year, man? You were the party animal. Now you're going to go make salah? Yeah, seriously, please. We know what you're really like. In other words, not only have you lost your friends, from your family you get the nastiest kinds of sarcasm and criticism. All the time, all the time. Every chance they get, they say something to you. They'll have some comments for you, and those comments hurt. They burn pretty good. This happens to young men in the audience, where their parents start telling them to stop hanging out with their other Muslim friends. Don't go to the masjid, don't waste your time. Muslims themselves, you think non-Muslims are averse to Islam? Have you seen what Muslim families are doing to their own? What parents are doing to their children? I know of cases myself where parents said, we will not pay your college tuition. We will not look for a wedding made for you until you take that hijab off. We will not do it. We do not accept you as our daughter until you take that thing off. We will not show our face in public with you. You can't go with us anywhere. This is the mother telling. And you know what they'll say? What's amazing about that? They'll make you feel bad about yourself. They'll tell you, what kind of daughter are you? You should be ashamed of yourself. You're embarrassing your parents. We're Muslim, but we're not Muslim. We're not those kind of Muslims. That's not how we do things in our family. That's what they'll say. Our family is different. We don't do things like that in our family. That's those masjid people. Don't be like those masjid people. That's what they'll say. And you know what's amazing about that? If you look at a portrait of your great-grandparents from back in the day, good old great-grandpa's got a big old beard and you can't even see grandma's face. So who's being true to the family and who's an embarrassment to the family? See, this is Muslim families today. And you're in the midst of all of this. And you know what happens? Because you've made a decision to turn towards Islam, if an enemy of Islam came to you and said, abandon your religion, you would say, oh yeah? I'm going to be even more committed. You would become energized in your zeal for the religion when the enemy attacks Islam. We'd get even more fired up. Muslims get fired up in the craziest of ways. Somebody draws a cartoon about the Messenger ﷺ, and Muslims go crazy and they'll burn some other guy's car up or break somebody else's because they're really angry. But we get fired up when something happens, something questions the dignity of our religion, even if it makes sense or doesn't make sense. But when your own family comes and says, look, I love you, I'm worried about you, I don't want you to become this way. This is the way of the people who fail out of college, who don't have a career, who have miserable lives. I don't want you to fall into this extreme. Somebody is putting you under their influence, you need to get away from them. So how do you deal with that? The most inappropriate response to this pressure is anger. And you know what? That is the most common response too. Your parents start yelling at you for growing the beard, and you're a young, hot-blooded guy. What do? Oh yeah? It's the sunnah. You can't tell me what to do. They're talking about your beard. What was Ibrahim's father talking about, alayhi salam? Was he talking about something small or something big? Go make sajda to idols, boy. And does he lose his cool? Does he get angry? We have to learn how to be with our parents. Even when they call you away from deen, it doesn't matter if they're Muslim or not. وَإِن جَاهَدَاكَ عَلَىٰ أَن تُشْرِكَ بِمَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ عِلْمٍ فَلَا تُطِعْهُمَا وَصَاحِبْهُمَا فِي الدُّنْيَا مَعْرُوفًا. Allah Azza wa Jal tells us, if they struggle against you to make you follow what they themselves have no knowledge of, don't obey them while at the same time accompanying them in the most dignified fashion. Obeying them is separate, respecting them is separate. Just because you didn't obey them for the sake of Allah when it came to matters of halal and haram, or when it came to matter of iman and shirk or kufr, just because you didn't obey them does not give you the right to get angry at them. You can't. You have to maintain family relations. A lot of families have been broken because one side feels that they are religious and the other is too liberal, and the religious side gets angry and they don't want to deal with their the liberal element in their family. You have to learn to be patient with every family. You have to learn to be patient. You have to learn to listen to the nastiest sarcasm, the nastiest language. Your mother will tell you, I wish you were never born, you're such a disappointment. You know? Your husband and wife will tell you, you don't look good anymore. I don't want to even sleep next to you. Look at that thing on your face. You know? They'll say those kinds of things. You will hear the nastiest of language from your own family. And you know where this began, just so we're trained? The Prophet ﷺ, one of his nastiest enemies, probably the worst. If you want to make a list of the enemies of the Messenger, the worst of the worst of the worst, Abu Lahab. Who is Abu Lahab? It's his uncle. It's his uncle. It's his neighbor too. And this uncle of the Messenger throws dead animal skin over the wall when he hears the Prophet praying, sallallahu, and they throw filth over. They leave these thorns in his path. So in the morning when he gets up, he gets injured. And you know what the nastiest thing is? When the Messenger ﷺ lost his son. When he lost his son, even if you have an enemy that you want to kill, and you hear they lost a child, you put the sword down and say, I heard about your baby, I'm sorry to hear that. We'll fight tomorrow. I'll let you have your condolences for a day. You would do that much for even your enemy. That's human compassion. His uncle, Abu Lahab, hears about the passing of the son of the Messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and goes out of the house celebrating. He goes and tells the rest of Quraysh, Batara Muhammad. Muhammad's name has been cut off. He doesn't have any sons. Nobody's going to pass on his name. He goes and celebrates. What kind of an uncle? I mean, on top of that, what kind of an enemy? I've never heard of an enemy like that. So when you talk about animosity inside your family, you got nothing. You've got nothing on this man, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He's been dealing with far worse. Far worse. And so what I want to share with you today, in order to keep your family intact, you have the Muslims here that are hoping to hold on to their religion. I'm telling you, if you really are worried about your family, you better learn to become extremely patient with the rest of your family that isn't here and will not be here in the near future. Except if Allah knows best, you know. You don't anticipate them being here in the near future. You don't anticipate them being at the masajid. You anticipate them having inappropriate gatherings in their homes, but they are still your family. And who's going to give them da'wah? And let me tell you something else. This is very important. You have members in your family. Listen to this carefully now. You have members in your family that are so far apart from you, and they are so on the other end of the spectrum from you, the only reason you would ever talk to them is because they're family. And if they weren't family, you would probably not even go down the same street. You would never ever meet them. You would never associate with them. You would say, no, not those kind of people, I don't associate with them. And Allah made it in His qadr that you be part of that family because Allah wanted someone to give them da'wah and He chose it to be you. You had to talk to them. It was you, and you don't like talking to them. And that's part of da'wah. Da'wah is not all entertainment. Da'wah can be very unpleasant. This, what I'm doing right now, is not really da'wah. This is the easy part. This is the part where a speaker comes up and says a few words for 20 minutes, and people actually come and sit and listen. You try doing that with your family. Hey guys, come here, I got to talk to you for 20 minutes. What about 40 minutes? Some of you have been sitting here for 3 hours. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-ali al-azim. Try that with your family, a halaqah for 3 hours. See how that goes. We can't have 2 minutes. 2 minutes with our brother, our daughter, our son, our husband, our wife, our parents. We can't. They don't listen. They don't listen. But the messenger is told, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, go talk to your toughest audience. Anzir ashiratak al-aqrabin. Warn your family, the closest ones. And the closest ones are the toughest ones. My sister, I bring her to seminars with me sometimes, gets the best sleep of her life during my lectures. If it's not your words, because naturally we don't take the words of our family seriously. Oh, you're just a kid, what are you going to tell me? You're my nephew, how are you going to give me advice? The father of Ibrahim a.s. says, you're my kid, you're going to tell me what to do? It's very difficult to listen to your child about religious advice. It's very difficult. You know, your ego gets in your way, and also just your assumptions. How will a kid know more than me? You know, I know who you are, you don't know better than me. That's the assumption. So if your words aren't going to do it, you know what it's going to have to be? It's going to have to be your character. It's going to have to be your patience. It's going to have to be your thick skin that no matter what they say, you're able to laugh it off and still be cordial, still be friends, still be nice, still be courteous, still keep the family ties. One day they curse you out, the next day you call them again. And this is the way of the messengers. The messengers were cursed, and they come back and they make da'wah to the same people again. And then they're cursed even worse, and they come back the next day and they do it again. To the point where people are not just cursing at them, they're trying to kill them. They're trying to kill them. Imagine how annoyed these people must be with messengers that they're ready to kill them. And some even from within their own family. What would drive a person to kill a member of their own family just based on words? This is how poisonous da'wah can be to some people. They can't stand it. They can't stand it. But you still have to be patient with them. You still have to continue to invite them. This is what we're learning from the messengers, alayhimu salatu wassalam. I tell you, my primary job is with my family. This is secondary. This is all secondary. Your primary job is with your family, your toughest audience. And in this regard, the last thing I will share with you is a little bit of practical advice, especially for the younger brothers and sisters here that have horrible relationships with their parents. Let me tell you something about that. If you have a bad relationship with your parents, that is the easiest ticket to hellfire. Easiest ticket to hellfire. You cannot afford a bad relationship with your parents. And let me tell you why that happens too. Why does he blow up every time he talks to you? And why does your mom just completely unleash upon you the moment you walk into the house? Why are they so critical? What did they eat for lunch? Why are they so critical? I want to let you know. When you were little, you wanted their attention all the time. But when you got older, what happens? They want your attention, but you got other things to do. You never give them any time. And when you don't give them time, they miss you at first. They're sad at first, but then they get angry. They say, first they're sad, but then they get angry. My child, my son, my daughter doesn't give me any time. And in their head, the anger is building and building and building and building. And then they see you walk by, Assalamu alaikum, and you walk by. And you don't even wait for the wa alaikum assalam. You don't even wait for it. And they get even angrier and angrier. And in their head, there are so many things they want to say to you, but they have no opportunity to say them to you. So they see you for 10 seconds, and what do? They explode. They explode on you. You know how many things you haven't done? This. You're like, where did this come from? Have you been memorizing a list? How does this is not spontaneous. You must be building this in your mind for a while. And yes, they have been. And you could have avoided all of that just by calling them every day. Just by spending 5 minutes with them every day. Just by saying, how are you doing? This is what I did today. They don't have to control your life. They just want to know what you're doing. This is where I'm going. This is what I did. This is what I'm going to do. You know, this was good, this was bad. And they might have input about it that you may or may not like, but listen to it anyway. It's okay. Listen to them. Give them time, and don't make them feel like they're useless. Don't make them feel like, yeah, sure, okay, I gotta go. Not like that. Make them feel important. You have to be the best to them. وَقُلْ لَهُمَا قَوْلًا كَرِيمًا. Speak to them with noble speech, respectful speech. That's how you should be with your parents. But to kill that rift, the other practical piece of advice that I wanted to give you, not just giving time to your parents or your spouse, but the additional thing that I wanted to say to you, is do stuff for them. Do things for them. The more religious they see you become, they notice that you're more cut apart from the family. And they start blaming what for you being cut apart? Not you, but the religion. The more religious you become, the more of service you should be. You should do the groceries even more. You should do more and more and more for the family the more you turn to the religion, so that they see that this Islam has made my son a better son. This Islam has made my daughter, a better husband, a better wife, a better brother, a better sister, a better neighbor. Islam made them a better person. And I could see it. But the exact opposite is what is going on now. The more religious you get, the more confrontational you get. The more debates you get into. The more arguments you get into. That's the exact opposite effect. Because they will not blame you. They will blame Islam. And when you call them to it, they say, I don't want to be like you. I don't want to be like you. You're nasty. You're mean all the time. And it's probably because you're religious. So I want nothing to do with the religion. Who turned them away from the deen is your own behavior. Your own behavior. All of you sitting in this audience today have an obligation to change your behavior towards your family, to be better than you were yesterday. You have an obligation to do so. Why should we make this kind of effort? Why bother to grow the thick skin? Why bother to put up with all of these insults and still be connected with our family and try to give them da'wah in the softest way possible? Why should we even bother? Listen to me. Even if you have a brother that you had a fight with, that you had some dispute about inheritance or whatever else, and you don't like talking to him, if you hear he got diagnosed with cancer, you'll call. If you hear he got into a car accident, you will call. You'll forget all of the fights of the past and you'll call anyway. You'll show up to the ER anyway, because blood is blood. If you care about your family, you will never get lazy about da'wah to them. You will always be thinking, how can I get something across to them? If this didn't work, that might work. If that didn't work, that might work. If that didn't work, something else might work. You're trying to get something through to them. And if it's not your speech, it may be something else. May Allah Azza wa Jal protect all of us and our families from the hellfire. Barakallahu li wa lakum fil Qur'an al-Hakim wa nafa'ni wa iyyakum bil ayat wa dhikr al-Hakim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.